Thank you all for being here tonight. We're super excited to see a lot of friendly faces that we've seen at a few of our Good Neighbor projects in the past, volunteering in the village, family members that I finally get to meet that my staff belong to. I'm super excited. Your people are incredible. This team is one of the best teams I've ever worked on. And so I'm going to give you guys the credit for creating some really cool people that I get to work with. So thank you for that. And then the rest of you are going to get to know how awesome they are throughout the evening. So I'm excited to share that with you. What we're going to do, we're going to start off with just kind of sharing with you a little bit about our new core values that we've really highlighted. They're not new to us, but we had for almost 4 years, we've had a working of 11 core values. So if you've ever gone to our website and was like, what are the values? You would have been, that's a lot of values. And they are our values, but we umbrella them so they're a little bit better for us to remember them, to make sure that we're actually living them and holding each other accountable, making sure that our neighbors even know what our core values are, and then helping them to also live them out amongst themselves in our community, as well as our board and then our volunteers. We're all on the same page of what are the core values within the village. And so we're going to start with that. And then we have some questions that people had already submitted to us. So we're going to kind of talk through that a little bit. And then we'll open up for a few minutes of burning questions that you have from sitting in this space. And then Jackie's going to close us out for the evening. So we're going to start with Jade sharing with us what folks said about inclusion.
Yeah, so for our staff at GV, inclusion means creating an equitable workplace that values collaboration, innovation, and unique approaches to problem solving. And for our program participants, inclusion means ensuring all participants feel respected, valued, and involved in shaping their own journey and contributing to the community.
Jackie's going to share with us what empowerment is.
So empowerment for our staff means equipping staff with the tools, training, and trust needed to provide high-quality services, foster personal growth, and make decisions that enhance the well-being of our program participants. And for our volunteers, I'll say, just because I do the volunteers, empowerment means providing meaningful opportunities to contribute and offering the knowledge and resources to make a tangible impact in the lives of our participants.
I kind of want, Jim, if you don't mind, could you borrow Hunter's mic and tell us what you wrote on the wall back there for empowerment?
Oh, that's what you know. That's what you know is for real.
That's the one I noticed, and I love
that's
it.
That's what I know is for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Say it
exactly
again.
what it is. That's what I know to be for a fact. It's for real.
Yes. He said on that wall, that's when you have your power. That's what I believe you wrote back there, which I think was just really, really cool. Yeah, thank you. Okay, where was I at? Sorry, Terri, community.
For staff, community means cultivating a cohesive and supportive team that works together to serve participants and each other with purpose and unity. And for the program participants, community means living in a safe and supportive environment that prioritizes healing, connection, and mutual accountability.
Shaunette has compassion.
I do. Compassion for our staff means approaching each interaction with empathy, patience, and unwavering commitment to the well-being of our participants. And for our program participants, or sometimes residents, neighbors, compassion means being treated with kindness and respect, fostering a culture of mutual care among our participants and among our staff. So they kind of go together, I think.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you guys kind of helping everyone understand what our core values are. I think that we've been living them, and I hope that if you have served inside the village in any capacity, you have also felt that amongst our neighbors and the staff when you have those kind of engagements with us. Okay, we kind of started early with going with our values, and you were like, who are those people? So maybe we could start down over there with Hunter, giving your title and maybe a quick description of what that means.
Yeah. Hi, guys. My name's Hunter. I am Goodness Village's operations director. What that really means is all the behind the scenes stuff. Staff support is what I like to call it. So that's human resources, that's tech, that's admin, that's communications, that's anything that supports a staff member doing their job better is kind of my wheelhouse.
My name is Shaunette. I'm the housing services manager. I also am the safety coordinator. So I am the person plainly stated as the hammer, but just kidding. Don't quote me on that. No, I actually, in my role and my responsibility is to really help the neighbors become, one, successful in their housing, and then also to kind of provide some educational resources and tools so that they can maintain stable housing for a long period of time. So that's pretty much what I do. All things tiny home, top to bottom, left to right, up and down, and all across.
I'll give a behind the scenes of Shaunette from earlier today. She's already changed her outfit because today she helped with how many times? 3 times. Because earlier today she was helping renovate one of our houses for the next move-in that is happening tomorrow. So she rolls up her sleeves and she gets in there to help create an inviting place for people to move into. And it's personalized with her love and care that from the minute they move in through the door. So thank you for your 3rd outfit change.
Looking beautiful. Hi, everyone. My name is Jade. I am the manager of support services here at GV. I manage our 24-hour support staff that is on site 24/7. It's a team of about 12 right now. So they hang out over in the Yellow House in the kind of the hub of the village. And then I oversee just the entire support program. So working closely with Kim and our case manager on creating individualized support plans for the neighbors and kind of, facilitating communication and documentation and all the Asians that you can think of, I probably am doing. So I wear a lot of hats, but manager of support services is where I'm at.
I'm Terri. I'm the vocational manager. I help support the neighbors in everything they do around here. They do all the jobs around here. I help them to build confidence in themselves, to realize that they have the ability to do work inside the village and outside the village at some point in time. So that's basically what I do. I teach them how to get back out in the community and work again, to help support themselves, possibly moving on from Goodness Village at some point.
And she decorates the village for Christmas every year and Halloween and does lots of other things.
My name is and flipping units. My name is Jackie. I'm the community engagement manager with Goodness Village. I handle all things volunteers, all things social media, pretty much anything that has to do with the community. So you guys and the village, I'm the liaison. So community outreach events, bringing more people to the village, helping people understand why the Good Neighbor Project is important, promoting things like our podcast. So basically just getting the word about Goodness Village out into the community is what I do.
If you don't know about our podcast, you can find that on our website, and it's really informative. I would encourage you to take a look at that also. Okay, so one of the things that we are at the village is we really like to step into joy and people's strength and the excitement, right? When you are unsheltered for an extended period of time, it's a lot of focus on survival and your day-to-day needs being met. And so when folks move into here, there is a time frame from transitioning from survival mode to stepping into an improved quality of life and starting to dream about what their future might look like for them. And so I think that will lead me right into asking you all to share a little bit about what is exciting for you to think about that's coming into your future. Either here, you can keep it professional, or you can share something in your personal life if you want. But something about the village that excites you right now. Either way.
I'll jump in. You know, I have the great opportunity to get to know all of our neighbors, not as support or vocational or housing, but just as like that guy that kind of walks around and is here, but like I don't work with anybody directly. So I find a lot of joy when I get to go into our Yellow House, our community center, and just like have coffee with people and, you know, share a meal. And I don't know if I've told you guys this, but the most recent neighbor that moved in, I've been in like passing conversations with her, just saying, hi, good to see you, you know, back and forth. And she's been here for couple of months, a hot minute. And I finally had a good conversation with her last week we had a food donation. So we are kind of looking at what was available. And we just had like a normal person conversation. There wasn't this like, oh, I'm on staff and you're a neighbor here. It's just like, oh, we're just like hanging out. And I think that's just a real base level humanizing thing that I think a lot of us take for granted when we get to work with folks in this population.
For me, actually, the most exciting thing that's happening is that somebody is moving in tomorrow. And so for me, it's always getting someone off of the street, especially for the people that come to us. They're usually unsheltered for at least 3 to 5 years, just easily. And so when we get to house someone, my whole entire world just kind of hones into that. And so I'm really, really excited. I'm exhausted, but I'm excited because we have someone moving in tomorrow. And so that's just the best feeling ever. Every single time, it's just this entire thing that just kind of takes over you because you know that someone is, you know, able to start taking the next steps that they want to for the next portion of their life. So happy for that.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off that one too. New move-ins are always super exciting because that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to give people a roof and a locked door. And so move-in days are always really exciting. So that's what I'm excited about too. And I'm also excited about carrying out our team trainings this year. I usually do monthly trainings with my team. And I'm just excited about what we're going to be bringing in this year for them and really just focusing on empowering my team to be able to hold down this village and really teaching them what it looks like to work in social work with mental health and all of those things. So that's what I'm looking forward to this year.
Me?
Go for it.
I'm excited because it's springtime. I don't know if you've noticed, but the weather is starting to get very nice. And that means my village is full of weeds. And what does that mean? Everybody gets to come out and start working around the village again outside. And we start being a community again. We're kind of in the winter time. We're a little bit hunkered down and it's cold and people are kind of stick to themselves. But now people are coming out. They're all greeting each other. I get to, you know, where's Alan? You know, just asking where people are, knocking on doors. We working today. So that part of it for me is really, really cool. The springtime, getting people out and about and moving around again. That's my favorite time. Jim Bob knows he's working tomorrow.
It's the beginning of the year, so I'm excited for all the annual events that we have, our summer fundraiser, our fall fundraiser, our community health fair that I took on probably 2 years ago now, kind of on the fly, and now it kind of turned into my thing. So I'm really excited to launch that and make it even bigger and better this year. Last year, we were fortunate enough to open it up to the greater community. So not just people who live here, but people who are still experiencing homelessness or living in other supportive housing programs. So this year, I'm just excited to make it even bigger and better than it was even last year.
Okay, before I move on, I feel like I have to give a confession about my leadership style, because you might hear more of those kind of moments, is that I often drive into work and have a crazy idea of something that we're going to do, like Good Neighbor Project or a health fair situation or something else, and then I give it, and then I move on to the next flashy thing that it catches my eye, and then they put it all together in really great ways. In fact, last week I said, wouldn't it be cool if we had a backdrop? And they all looked at me like, no, that's not going to happen. It's like next week. We have a backdrop. So this team like takes a vision and then they make it happen. And it always turns out incredibly well. And so I just want to appreciate that in this public forum, if I don't often say it. And then Shaunette, can you describe how someone might find themselves to be a neighbor here at the village?
So the first step is to get on our wait list. We do have a program selection criteria. It's actually found on our website. So if anybody ever wants to refer anyone, you can definitely look through that on our website. But the very first step is to get on the wait list. I have probably about 150 people on my wait list right now. That doesn't mean that every single person, hasn't become housed or, may not qualify. But through that program selection criteria, we look more so for, excuse me, I'm going to let you hold that. We look more so for the people who meet the criteria for homelessness or chronic homelessness, being unsheltered, and that's defined by HUD. And then we look at kind of what's the situation. Sometimes we get people who have just, moved out of housing and they're going to move sometime in the next couple of months and they're just looking for short-term housing or something, very quick for a couple of weeks. And with us being permanent supportive housing, we're looking at that whole picture. And so we also kind of take into consideration what services can we offer them? What can we bring and add to them, to their life, to benefit, not for us because we're going to be here, right? But how do they work into a supportive housing program? What does that mean for them? What does case management look like? What does support look like to them? And so we go through all of those kind of communications. We have several interviews. I talk to them one-on-one. They talk to staff one-on-one. They come on site. We do walkthroughs. We look at the tiny homes because, we like tiny homes because we're in the tiny home business, but someone can walk in and say, oh, where's the rest of it? And it's a whole new experience when you come into a tiny home. And so, we have these whole vision things and we move through all of these processes before we even get to the step of, okay, hey, now let's, complete the application. Let's do the background check. Let's, start the process for you to move in. And so they have really a hands-on experience from the very first day or the very first interaction that they have with me. Usually it's through email or they'll have case management referral from other organizations that we partner with. So we absolutely welcome referrals. If any of you guys want to reach out, please do so. And we really start from that day one step. And so when they actually get to the point where they move in, we've already had so many of those relational kind of opportunities that have happened. And I think they end up being good fits for the village because of that.
Jade, the village is supported by a 24-hour staff. What does a typical day look like for the support team, and how do they approach building trust and rapport with neighbors?
This is such a challenging question for me to answer all the time because every day looks so different here, especially in the support world. For those of you that don't know, Jackie and I started off on support staff back in 2021. And so we would always joke that every day it felt like we were adding something to our resume, something that we never expected that we would have to do. But typically what a day in the life of a support staff looks like is after they come in and get kind of a rundown from the person that's leaving of what happened overnight or what happened throughout the day and what kind of needs to be followed up on or looked out for. It really just depends on the day. Some of my staff host activities for the neighbors like bingo or trivia night or whatever. I have journaling. We have book club, stuff like that. And outside of that activity time, we're really just trying to go out and sort of do a little bit of outreach and build rapport and relationship with our neighbors. So just having conversations with people on our walks, inviting them in to watch a movie with us or play a game with us, or just sitting and chatting about their day. A lot of our neighbors, when they come in from work, for those of the neighbors that do work, will come in and just sit in our office and just chat and just have that connection because, a lot of us get to come home to our families and to our partners and just talk about our day. And a lot of our folks don't have that. So providing that safe space and just, that connection piece is a lot of what my staff does. But overall, my staff the goal is health and safety of the village overall and individualistically and housing retention. So helping folks, stay accountable, helping kind of support folks through what permanent housing looks like. And that looks different for everyone. So it's a very complicated answer, but those are kind of the tenets of what a support staff looks like.
I think you did a great job
Thanks.
trying to answer
always
that.
so hard. It's always so hard.
That's one of the interview questions that people always ask us, what does a day look like? And we're like, I don't even know how to
Every
answer that.
single day is different. I don't, yeah.
Hunter, what's something people might not realize goes into keeping GV running smoothly on a day-to-day basis?
2 words. Google Calendar. If it's on the calendar, it doesn't exist. If it's on an email, it doesn't exist. Communication across all of our departments and with staff and with neighbors and volunteers. I would always rather over communicate than under communicate, especially with such a diverse program like this one, where there are so many different components. And I'm just thinking on a staff end of things, not even on the neighbors and the program side of things. There's just a lot of moving pieces, and we're also a new program too. So we're trying things that work and adjust on the fly and modify things when we need to have a positive, progressive, safe environment for our community. So yeah, I mean, it would be one of my values if I had the Hunter's value over here. Communication would be the first one for sure.
Now I'm wondering, can we put it under anything?
It goes under all of them, Kim.
Okay. Woo, good. All right. Yeah, that's definitely, communication is so important. Okay, Terri, what types of vocational opportunities are available to neighbors, and how do you help them build skills for long-term success?
I wrote this down. So,
Wait, now they're going to know that I'm not surprising you with these questions.
well, I mean, this is something I would say anywhere, at any time, because there's a lot of things that go on in the vocational department. So I have to often remember all the things that go on in the vocational department. So the opportunities that we have around here are janitorial and housekeeping, landscaping, agricultural, livestock and edible plant care, maintenance, retail, administrative services, community events, setting up and tearing down, cooking, barbecuing, event planning, and hospitality. So they get to learn. You figure a lot of them have been out on the streets for a really long time. They probably haven't had jobs. They don't know what it's even like to wash their own laundry or keep their houses clean or things like that. So there's all these different opportunities in the house, in the Yellow House. They get to keep it clean, the community center.
Weeds.
Pull weeds. We live on a farm. The landscaping is a big part of it. I went to YouTube University to learn about livestock and taking care of chickens because I've never done that before. And so I get to teach them how to take care of animals, to stamp a clock, or to clock in and clock out, be on a schedule. What does that feel like again? Because like I said, when you're on the street, you're running amok. There is no structure. So the vocational program helps bring them structure so that, at some point they can go out into the greater community and get jobs. We start off very slow in the vocational. We have a tier 1 where they kind of just are getting into it. They kind of, learn how to pull weeds, and you're doing a great job. We're trying to build up their confidence again, and let them know that, what people and how they get treated on the street isn't who they are at their core. They're really good people and super creative. We have a tier 2 where they get really good at their first. Tier 1, they start coming in, they're showing up, they're punching the clock, they're asking me to do more things. And we go to tier 2, and that's a stipend job. We have SHP that helps us out with that, and Sleep in Heavenly Peace, Daniel Curtis, and CrossWinds Church helps us with the tier 2. We have the Guinness Cafe on the weekends on Sundays, where they serve coffee for church. And then the tier 3 jobs that they get are jobs outside of here, in the greater community, where I work with companies to let them know or get them jobs and work with the people there. And then we have a tier 4 where they get to start their own business, and we've had a few people do that here as well. So there's lots of levels to the vocation department, and just learning how to get out there again, punching a clock, being on time. So, yeah.
One of the creative things that that Terri has had to kind of do is figure out how to create a vocational program that supports the age range of 30 to 80 years old, as well as a different level in social skills, a different level in communication skills, and then as well as mobility challenges as people are aging. And so she's done really well at figuring out what their passion might be, what they might be step into in a really positive way, but also help identify maybe something that wasn't a skill set. And is that a skill that you would like to learn, or should we maybe look at a different vocational opportunity for you? So she has really positive strength-based conversations, and then she has really hard conversations with people as well, but with a very loving, compassionate way of doing so.
And also I work with I've had all 20, there was one person that didn't work in the village, but all 27 of them work for me every month. They do something. So I get to deal with 28 different personalities, 28 different levels of skill. And I love that. I love to be able to, who am I coming up to now? What do I get to look forward to today? So it's really cool.
Okay, Jackie, you're up. Can you share a favorite volunteer experience and give us some examples of how volunteers are involved in the village?
As you guys know, we have a lot of weeds, so weeding. My favorite volunteer experience was actually a couple months ago. I had a Girl Scout troop full of third graders who wanted to do something for the village. It was the greatest experience I've ever had. I gave them a tour. Then afterwards, we had a brainstorm session about what they could prepare for dinner. And it was obviously just a plethora of random things that they know how to make. So it was brownies and spaghetti and scrambled eggs and lasagna and pho and lots of stuff that I didn't know that third graders knew. But they obviously just came back with lasagna and salad and garlic bread. But they came with like little Thanksgiving handouts for all the neighbors. It was such an amazing experience to be able to introduce the youth of the community to this world rather than kind of shelter them from it and then have them figure it out as they get older. It's really nice that we're able to build compassion, shout out to our values, in the youth of the community. So that was definitely one of my most memorable and favorite opportunities. But as far as, what was the second part of the question?
Some examples of how volunteers would get
so I put together community, like corporate work days for people, or like small groups, corporate work days. They want to come and pull weeds or help us paint something or help us fix something. For example, tomorrow I have Workday the corporation coming to do hammocks in our hammock grove and to plant succulents in all of our little libraries. A couple weeks after that, I have Kaiser coming. So it's like lots of big groups to come do stuff at the village. Some of our smaller opportunities that are still very impactful, community dinner, providing dinner for our neighbors, picking up meals from food pantries, taking our neighbors to errands, taking them to appointments. Shout out to Bev in the back for being one of our favorite drivers. So there's lots of different opportunities. I always tell people, even if you don't want to do one of the ones that we have, I'm more than happy to walk you around the village. We can sit down and brainstorm a way to get you involved. So I'm always willing to work with people based on their availability, their level of interest, and how they can get best plugged into the village.
I'm going to piggyback on that really quick because I get to look at Jim's face here right now. And a couple really cool volunteer activities that I think he's been able to do is we had the fishing trip. And then we have a volunteer that goes to the driving range. And I've gotten to hit some balls with Jim as well. That was super fun. I'm terrible. I would not encourage you to join me, but it is a good time. We know what our skill sets are. We know our strengths, right?
I wanted to also share, putting Jim on the spot. Last week, we actually made wallets. So we had a volunteer come in and he premium leather. And I made a little pouch because I need little girl things. But they all made wallets. And I was like, I can't fit most of my stuff in there, but I want a wallet too.
Yes,
and
show us the wallet.
Oh, Jim's going to show us his beautiful. And this was all literally hand cut, hand stitched, hand everything. And so we spent last week outside kind of just making wallets and just enjoying the weather. And Jim's actually going to show it.
He's going to show it off. Isn't that cool?
It's dual color. There's multiple slots. No, I'm just but it's definitely Don't share your money. There's definitely, opportunities. So I want to thank Jackie. I know this is not necessarily the exact space for this, but thank you, Jackie, because there are opportunities that people don't think about, and something as what we would say as simple as making a wallet, but the amount of time that we spent and kind of that camaraderie that we built in that moment, and kind of, hey, can you hold the hammer for me? Because I don't want to break my nails. And then I'm like, and so I'm in there and I'm running back and forth and I'm doing research and I'm like, but wait, I got to push this thing on my wallet. And so they are helping me and I'm just watching them just kind of in awe of how their craftsmanship is, but just how we just had that space to be able to do that and kind of build that community even within our own selves. And so I was really happy for that. So thank you for that.
And just because I totally forgot that just happened. This was a volunteer who just said, I want to get involved. I don't really know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I don't cook. I can't do any of the other stuff, but how do I get involved? So he lived his life making a really good living off of leather craft making. And he said, I have a bunch of material. I'm retired, but I would love to teach somebody. And I said, I have a bunch of guys who have been begging me for some manly activities around here. So I got a brainstorming session with all the guys. We talked about time. We talked about day. And he showed up the next week and he's off away for a couple weeks. But he said, as soon as I get back, we'll put another day on the calendar. So just one example of how people don't really know how they want to get involved till they come here. We figure it out and then we get them plugged in.
Well, I feel like maybe we've kind of answered this next question, but I'm going to throw it out to everyone again. What do you think sets GV apart from other supportive housing programs?
I was going to say that for me, I'll just kind of speak from a housing standpoint because I've worked in supportive housing and affordable housing for so long. It's really the relational piece. You're not just a person who comes in and typical kind of landlord relationship where you're just pay your rent, pay your fees, call when there's a work order, come in and do a research. It's not just that. I don't know my neighbor. I don't know who's working in the office that day. It's definitely where you see all of us. You know that all of us are on that support side for you. We want to see everyone housed. We want to keep everyone housed. And we want to work with every single individual, not just our participants, but in the community as well, to just kind of really build a program that works not for just, okay, you have a roof, but it works because look at the things that you've accomplished and that you've been able to kind of set apart and identify for yourself. And people have moved from here with, bigger and better things and opportunities. And so it's just a beautiful experience, I think, for me, from a housing standpoint, just to be able to see the difference between the two. You get to actually have someone one-on-one on your side every single day. If you have an issue, you have a problem, you have something that you want to talk about, something you want to creatively build and work through. And so it's just really, really good to have that space for that. That makes us different right off the bat.
I was going to say something similar. I mean, my biased answer would, of course, be the 24-hour support staff, right? Because not a lot of programs have that. But what I really want to focus on is the permanency aspect of our program. So the people that move in here don't have a timeline of when they have to move out. That takes so much pressure off of people to figure it out in 18 months or, okay, I have this roof for 2 years, then what, right? So knowing that they can stay as long as they want or forever really takes the pressure off of, what's next and how do I focus on healing now? So the permanency aspect and the low barrier. So we don't require sobriety to live at the village. We don't require medication compliance, those kinds of things where in other programs, the restrictiveness can kind of turn people over a lot as well. We really work with folks in a harm reduction space where we are meeting people where they're at and figuring out how can we support you as a whole person and look at all the aspects of your personality, your trauma history, all of these things, and really create these individualized support plans that help people to be successful. And that's just not a quality of a lot of other supportive housing programs. And so I think those two things really set us apart.
Before I move on, anybody else want to add?
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
I think it's I'm always loud. I never use it.
Come on, Terry.
sorry, I never use these things. I think it's the one-stop shopping where we have everything here for everybody to be able to become that full person again, or work on themselves. We have everything here: the case managers, the support, the vocation program. You don't find that at other places of housing. I've lived experience, and I've been out there, and I just know that this is something so unique, and it can so work. And I feel like we need one of these in every city across the United States. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
May I also add one more thing? I was eavesdropping on Hunter and that neighbor's conversation that he referenced earlier a couple weeks ago. And what really struck me was her feedback on how we treat the neighbors like humans. And just her sentiment of, I've been through other programs and no one really looks at us or talks to us in the ways that you guys do. You let us live our lives, but you're here for us, and we know that we can come to you for whatever we need. But you treat us like humans. And that really, really hit me because, when we're in it and we're following Kim's leadership, and of course she's set such a great stage for us to treat people with compassion and really look at the whole person. But being in this bubble of goodness, thank you. You forget that other organizations don't, treat humans like humans. So you would think that would be the obvious plan, but it doesn't seem to be that way. So the humanistic aspect that we can provide in our program structure is something that definitely sets us apart as well.
Okay, not gonna cry. We're fine. If one starts, we're all just gonna cry on stage. It's gonna be a mess. Okay, I'm going back to Shaunette. How do you work with neighbors to ensure they have resources and support to maintain stable housing long term?
Well, it's definitely a team effort. That's for sure. I rely very much heavily so on my colleagues, but really it's a team effort with that individual, with that participant, because what I may think and what they think are always going to be two totally different things. And so what for me it takes is to kind of listen and to really be in that space with them. So like Kim said, I roll up my sleeves. And so I'm treating them with respect. They have my trust. They have my, respect right off the bat. And they also kind of know my expectations. And with the trauma-informed approach to that, they kind of know what they can bend with and then what I'm going to hold them accountable to. And so in that space, it's really, hey, I'm not here just, because I want to be the person to make sure that, you're doing this because this is what I said or whatever the case may be. It's absolutely not that. It's, here may be a situation where we have a correctable or corrective behavior that we need to work on. And how do we do that so that we can help you to retain your housing? Because we want to keep you housed, right? And so, like I said, what things that I want is like, come on, I know you can do it. Come on, just listen. Come on, And so it's like, okay, Shaunette, take a step back into my own self, and it's, what are they actually telling me? And so I have to listen to them. And sometimes it's not things that they're telling me verbally or in this particular conversation that we're having or in this situation. It's things that kind of we've developed and talked about over time. And so I just show up. That it's really what it is that I show up for them and they show up for me in that communication and in that aspect. And so we really work together and we partner, just kind of, how do we do this? Tell me, how do I fix it? How do I help? What can we do? And so sometimes they'll be like, hey, I want to change this entire tiny home and knock down this wall. And I want to build a penthouse bathroom and, all the things. I'm like, no, you can't do that. But let's talk about why. And, let's come up with a solution together. So even if I say it's never no, it may be no, but it's never no. It's how do we get to a common goal or a common meet in the middle. And so I'm never just like, absolutely not. And here's why. It's, Okay, probably not, because it's not safe. And let me explain to you why it's not safe. And then we're going to work to kind of figure out how we can get to that space where you're happy. And I'm going to make sure that you still have a house after this. And, so we have a lot of those conversations. And it like Hunter said, it's the communication. Like Jade said, it's the kind of one-on-one support. It's the communication, between all of us, and being kind of that loop for them in the background and then also in the forefront.
Good answer. Okay, Jade, you mentioned the individualized support plans. Can you explain what the benefit is for having it be that way?
Yes, I will do another shout out to our values for empowerment. The individualized support plans really puts the neighbor in the driver's seat of their journey and their story. No one wants to work towards goals that someone else set for them, right? So we really work individually with people to, again, learn their trauma history, learn their story, learn their personality, and figure out how we can work to support them in a way that works for them, because that's the only way it's going to be successful. One example I can provide is like learning how someone communicates or receives information. Is it better if we sit across a desk and have a conversation? Is it better if we're outside in open air? Is it better if we're taking a walk? Is it better if you're working with your hands while I talk to you side by side? Everyone has different ways of communicating and being able to communicate in a way that's helpful. And so we have to learn the person, learn what works best for them. Because again, I always say there's no cookie cutter solution, because no one has a cookie cutter life. So we really have to look at that person and how do we best support that person as an individual, rather than here's the program, here are the parameters, now follow that, because it's really not realistic.
And I just want to piggyback on that. So no one is just a number. You're not just a unit number. You're not just, so-and-so that lives over there. You're an actual person. And so we talked about a little bit already, kind of that whole person and that whole aspect. We have the holistic approach. So we look at every single thing. And, sometimes there are obstacles, but when you are able to kind of look at it from every single angle, that's how you're able to really find that space. And that's kind of where you develop that trust, and you develop that communication, and you develop that aspect so that they can come to you if there's, something going on, or they can come to you if they have things that they want to, work on, and goals that they want to obtain outside of the village. And so just want to piggyback on that a little bit.
Hunter, I think most people would assume that the director of operations would not have much interaction with the neighbors. But in 3.5 years, you have had a bulk load of these interactions. I think it helps that you are the only male, and so they kind of gravitate maybe to you to have that kind of bro talk sometimes. Could you maybe share one of your most memorable experiences?
It's a difficult one to pinpoint because so much like everybody else here on the stage is that we develop individual relationships with everybody. Goodness, you set these questions up beforehand, and I did not think of an answer to this one.
Let me tell you what my brain was thinking.
Yeah.
My brain was thinking that you came from a world outside of human services, and maybe didn't know that you had thoughts or beliefs, a belief system, and then now you've had like these regular interactions with our participants. So maybe talk a little bit about what that's been like for you. Yeah.
So I moved to the area just about 7 years ago. I was on staff actually at CrossWinds Church here for the first 4 years I was here. I got to serve the church in a lot of different ministries and areas. And during COVID is when actually Goodness Village launched. In the midst of all the craziness, it's like, this is the time to build a tiny house village. And to be honest, my initial, I joined the team here at Goodness Village before we had a staff and a village, or like we had an idea and some contracts signed. And Kim, God bless you, you are so great at what you do, and you do not know how to use a computer. So I got hired to fix the emails, put the website back into working order, which, I mean, to me, it was just like, oh, let me do this thing with this tiny house thing, and let me go back to my job in ministry. But once we actually started building a community here, we started hiring a team, we started having neighbors moved in. It was really cool to see how culture was being laid here from every perspective. I'm very privileged to be a part of that conversation with being active in setting that culture, and I am privileged, and it's just such a unique experience to now be passive in a lot of ways, having these amazing leaders and directors and managers really take what I've got to be a part of from day one and take and run with it. And they have made it into such a bigger, more beautiful, robust thing than anything that I could have imagined or been part of. So now my job is to get to support them. With our neighbors, it's been cool just to see how people have been able to settle in this community from when they moved in June 2021 to now having a full-time job outside the village and seeing those incremental steps of somebody's recovery and stabilization. And sincerely, they're just like my neighbors here. Like, sir, I get to have a little bit more of a little insight to maybe why they're here, but that's not my job. That's just so-and-so that lives here that I get to, have coffee with and hang out with. So that's not a specific answer, but just really seeing the growth of Goodness Village from before phase 1 to what it is now growing as we develop more. It's been really, really special to me.
I think Hunter really enjoys showing all of our old folks how to use a computer. It's his favorite part of the job.
That and printers. Do not ask me to fix the printer. Just unplug it, plug it back in, and it will fix itself. I promise. Do not call me.
I just email you everything I want printed because you won't connect me to the printer.
Because you break the printer every time. Next question, Kim. Next question.
I want to also say that Hunter's really like the fun guy. So me, I'm of course in the housing world, so I'm, the real person and kind of holding everyone accountable. Jade's the person where it's like, oh God, I got to talk about my feelings. And then Terry's like, get to work. And then Jade's like, Jackie's like, so what can I do for you? And Hunter's like, we're not doing that. And then he gets to just jump in with all this coolness and, tall guy stuff. And we're like, dude.
Help me hang the backdrop.
Yeah, basically. But it's like, well, I want to do the fun stuff like Hunter. I don't want to be mean today. And so Hunter,
you want to do payroll?
No.
You
Well, I like to get paid. But we respect Hunter so much. Not only does he deal with all of the participants, but he deals with 5 women every single day.
Strong, passionate individual.
And we feel all of our feelings inside of the office. I'll just be honest about that. And so Hunter is the person who gets to sit there and he's like, don't like that. And he literally will walk away. And so we know that it's like, oh, we're pushing Hunter's buttons. And then we do it anyways because he's like our little big brother at work. And it's just, he's such a cool person. So just shout out to you because you don't get enough credit for what you do. You literally make the village go round. And we love you.
Thanks, Shaunette.
Go Hunty.
Thanks, guys.
I had the option. I could have hired a bunch of people that are just like me, but instead I said, we don't need that. That will turn out really badly. What we need to do is hire for my weaknesses. And every single one of these people have a skill set that I am weak in, that they are strong in. And it creates incredible conversations. It creates can we say a yin yang with like multiple pieces? Like it's balance when we're all in the room together. And when we're not all in the room together, you can tell that something's out of whack and there's a crucial piece missing in that space. And so I don't know who the person was that told me that, but shout out to them because I think that was really valuable messaging for me to step into that space. And it's a humbling space to sit down and figure out what your weaknesses are and then go tell these people like, I don't know what you do, but keep doing that because you seem to be doing great. Okay, next one. Terri, you have been able to engage every neighbor into participating in the vocational program. Can you share why you think it's important for people to be involved? And then share a success story. We're going to need tissue.
God, I am a big crybaby, probably because I have lived experience and I get to see what everybody here gets to do and how important they all are and how, what was my question? God. I'll go on a tangent.
Why is it
Why-
important
why
for
is
them
it-
to be engaged in the vocational
Yeah.
program? Because it's not about money and it's not
No,
about
it's
really
not.
skill building in that
you know
space.
what? It's not. It's really. I believe that vocation also helps build a community where they're all different. Like she said, we have people who are 80, and we have people that are in their.
Did you just point at me?
I have the gray hair too. I'm the oldest one up here. Okay. So what? It's important because they all get to come out. Like I call them my silver strings. Okay, then we have the people who are a little bit older. They can't bend down. They can't pull weeds, but they work the store. And then everybody that comes in, they get to see each other. They get to talk to each other. They get to build a community together where they're from so many. They're so diverse. There's people you would never think to put together in the same room. And they all are getting along. They're taking care of each other. They're watching out for each other. So vocation kind of brings them all together in a sense where, we got greeters, Walmart greeters, right? They sit at the front at the yellow house and they greet people when they come in. Well, a lot of people come through that door, everybody that lives there, to come do their laundry or to cook some food. And so then they all start talking and they all become a community. And I think that's really one of the big things that we're trying to do, right, is build a community of trust. Because when you're out there, you're always looking over your shoulder. You can't trust anybody. And so to watch them actually start doing that now after three years of being together, it's humbling and it's refreshing and it's lovely. So vocation, not just to make money, to go out and have success stories. I think there's 9 of them out there working now in the outer, city doing things. But the ones that are here, they get to form a family that they haven't had outside of there. And they get to make friends that they've never had out there and trust. I think that's huge for them. So that's what vocation does for that. It's not just get to work, but it is get to work.
Jackie, what does community engagement manager mean and what are your goals for 2025?
So, community engagement manager is actually a title that we came up with after we realized that I was not just doing volunteers or social media. So we came up with an all-encompassing title, which is community engagement manager. So I do handle social media, but I also do things like the graphics and the pamphlets that are in your hands. Also going out into the community and just letting people know about Goodness Village, signing them up to volunteer with us. Again, promoting our podcast, promoting things like the Good Neighbor Project, just figuring out ways to basically get Goodness Village to be a household name in the Tri-Valley, which is actually my goal for 2025. I would love for Goodness Village, even if they don't volunteer here, even if they've never listened to an episode of the podcast or even know completely what we do, they know that when they hear the word Goodness Village, they have some idea of what it is that we do here. So that's definitely one of my goals in the new year, because we've been around for 4 years this year. So it would be really nice to, now that we have some success stories, now that we have some history behind us and some amazing stuff planned for the future, I would love to just promote Goodness Village all throughout the Tri-Valley and beyond eventually, but we're going to take baby steps.
I'm going to give you the shout out now. I'm just working my way through the crowd. One thing that Jackie has a hidden, or maybe it's not so hidden anymore. The one talent that we are exploiting is this girl. It has the most amazing healthy boundaries and self-care habits. And so she leads the team in their self-care and creating what healthy boundaries look like in a space where we're working with somebody 24/7, right? So our bonds can get very tight, but there is still a level of staff and neighbors. And so how do you hold that for somebody instead of, usually they come to your office, they're there for a few minutes and they leave, but we're in their house. And so those relationships can get very strong. And so we need to take care. We also experience death in the village. And so that's very heavy. And so she helps kind of helps us regulate ourselves and keeps us balanced. And she teaches us yoga and mindfulness. So she really holds the team in this really beautiful space and reminds us when we need it, because she can feel, I think, when the tension's high, and she'll just call that we're going to have a meeting and make sure that we're all taking care of our own selves as well. Because that's one of the things we pour out. We also need to remember to pour back in. And Jackie's really good at reminding us that it's time to take space for our own selves.
And just touching on boundaries, like Jade said, we started off support staff in 2021. Then we eventually moved up to case managers. So we basically just split the village down the middle. You get these people and I get these people. But like she said, we're working in their houses. So although we do get to clock out and go home, you're still thinking about, man, what if I had just said this? Now I got to call this person tomorrow. Like, you're literally thinking of your to-do list on the way home before the day's even over. So after a couple weeks of going through that as a case manager, I said, this is not going to work out for me because I'm not going to survive at this job if I keep doing that. So that's kind of where the birth of my severe boundaries came in. And I do not answer emails if I'm not on the clock. I don't. So just... that's kind of where it came from. And working in social work, if you're familiar with it, boundaries are extremely important. Self-care is extremely important. Last week we had our team huddle and I said, you know what, guys, next week we're going to have yoga and meditation for our weekly meeting because this was a little stressful. So like Kim was saying, just making sure that we're taking care of ourselves because it is a 24-hour job, 7 days a week, 365, holidays included, we have bank holidays, but we're still thinking about the neighbors. So it's important to take care of ourselves.
One of the things when we're hiring staff, we're looking for people who we need to teach boundaries to. We can't teach somebody to care, but we can teach you that you might be caring a little too much, and we'll teach you how to bring that back down. But that's one of the ways that we're trying to weed out good staff and not great staff, in that space. But that's something that we also have to learn, is how to take care of ourselves in that space. So. Okay, let's see. Where am I? Oh, Jade, I'm on to you. Our supporters have heard us talk about the Future Community Center since we opened almost 4 years ago. Could you share why that space is so important for our staff and neighbors?
It'll be really nice to stop fighting over office space, first and foremost, and to have our own closed doors. It'll be really nice. But for the neighbors' sake, it'll be even nicer to have a place for them to commune in something that's a little bigger than a 2-bedroom house, which is what we're working out of right now. So we can fit like 3 or 4 neighbors in the living room. And so to be able to have a bigger group where we can host activities in a more efficient way, and just really kind of bring in more of that family feeling for them. It'll be something that is going to be really beneficial for a lot of people's healing. These tiny homes are 160 to 200 square feet, and that can get real suffocating sometimes. So to have a place to go outside of that tiny home and know that there are people there that you can chat with, maybe laugh with, play games with, things like that, in a space where you're not just cramped into this dark little room is going to be really nice. And, one of my favorite quotes is the opposite of addiction is connection. So what we're really trying to do is build that connection piece for people to, provide that space and that opportunity to build relationships that don't make them feel so isolated. And just have a place to go when they need someone to talk to, or if they can't sleep. There's lots of different ways that a community center will provide just that safe space and that expansion of what we're already doing to provide even more opportunity for healing.
And that community center is coming. It's been delayed a few times due to the property that we have. We're on the 35 acres. We've mentioned the weeds because of the farm. We have flood lands that we have to watch. We have the creek setback, and then we have the airport also involved. So it's been a long conversation to figure out how high can we go, the angles of it and things like that. But we're moving forward, and it's still fully funded. So that's nothing to question about in that space. It's just been working with the city of Livermore, who has been fabulous in it, of how do we make this building happen. Okay, we're at the spot where it is open for you all to ask any burning questions if you have any. I'll take the mic because you guys don't need me.
Great.
And then, but we will ask you to use the microphone because we are recording it for those that couldn't be here today. But if you have a question for one of my fearless leaders, I would love to bring you the mic.
I know, look at us.
I know, fearless.
I own that title. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, I'm going to come this way so I don't stand right in front of the camera.
Thank you.
Hi, my question is really for you, Kim. Two questions. Has other communities been in touch with you as far as starting a goodness village in their town? And what's your future for the land that you have here?
Sure. Okay, let me figure out how to get back on that camera.
Well, I can jump in on that first part of that question.
Yeah, answer that.
Go for it. So Hunter does most of my scheduling, so he can
Yes.
answer that.
Google Calendars. I'm serious, guys. So I get to, like Kim mentioned, I get to manage a lot of Kim's schedule, including people that reach out for tours of the village. We have folks from whether just individuals in the city or the Tri-Valley who just wants to learn more about us, from other nonprofits or other support group entities or churches that want to, like, what does it look like to do the tiny house thing? And then we also host tours for like county and government entities that are like, we are doing this. We need to have a kind of a game plan of what to even like start as. Our program was inspired by a program out in Austin, Texas called Community First. They've been doing incredible work over there for 20 plus years. We took their model and have run with it. So the 24/7 support care that's here on site by our own staff is one of those things. We see that as a huge benefit. But anyways, yeah, I probably get 3 or 4 emails a week from people that just want to know more about the community. And I get to put them in the calendar and make sure that Kim is here on time to make sure she starts the tours.
I'm super good relationally, so I am roughly about 10 minutes late to everything. So if you ever are waiting for a meeting, know that about me. I stopped to talk to somebody, but it's something I'm working on. As far as on the grounds here, CrossWinds Church just had a pastor shift. So we have a new pastor on site, and he and I are working on building a relationship, trust and rapport, and figuring this all out. He has a goal to expand the village. Obviously, I have a goal to expand the village. We just need to make sure that we are solid in our relationship before we can move forward in that kind of space. But that's the goal. Yeah.
And building our community center,
was just
because
gonna
we have
say.
1000% outgrown the space that we have, not just for staff, but for everyone. So as much as we love the Yellow House and kind of that expansion of their tiny homes, we need more space. And so we can't do anything until we get a community center. And then we'll move forward on next plan.
Yeah, I'll jump in really quick just with our relationship with CrossWinds Church. We would not be here without them. They have been so generous and flexible with what we need. I mean, the space that we're in, this is, the church's, Sunday morning elementary school classroom, basically. So their team and their leadership over at the church have been nothing but incredible as far as providing resources that we don't have and giving us space temporarily for cool things like this, or when we have a community dinner, and it's, cold or rainy outside, we get to use a church office space. And there's countless examples of how, despite us not having our own permanent space right now, the resources that we do have available on the property have been made available, which we're really thankful for.
On that note, though, can we also, I'll just ask the audience question, is there a religious requirement for anyone that lives in the village?
No.
Should we all say it together?
No. And that is, and people ask me this, so I'll answer. That is not because we don't want you to have that's between you and your God on Judgment Day. That is not my place. But oftentimes what happens is people get kind of confined into these spaces, right? So when you're looking for housing, okay, well, I have to be, sober. Now I have to, go to church every Sunday, or, attend Bible studies, or, all of these things. And so when they have these barriers, essentially, it's very hard for them to want to take those next steps or even have the opportunities for those next steps. And by all means, I'm not taking away from any religious background or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, once you start to pull into those kind of requirements and those confined spaces of, which box do you check and what do you have and what don't you have, then you limit yourself. And so because we don't have a religious background or a religious requirement, you don't have that limit of, I may believe in something else, or yes, I do, believe in God, but I think of this, or I believe this thing, or, this option. And so it really gives a space for them to be the individual and not to be, okay, this and that and that. And so, fortunately, we're grateful that CrossWinds is here. So if somebody decides that that's something that they want to do, if they want to attend, a Bible study or an NA class or different things that they have, they've given us the opportunity to have those resources kind of on site or kind of right across the road. And so we've had success with that, but there isn't that restriction of, you absolutely have to attend all of these things. That permanency aspect is still very much a real thing for us. And so I think it just really helps to not have a specific barrier in that capacity.
Good answer. Okay, any other questions? Okay, come in. His shoes are so loud.
Yeah, keep it down, Kim.
I know. I'm like,
My question is about collaborations. How do you work with other nonprofits or anybody else in the area for your residents?
That's kind of more me and Shaunette's world. I have a case manager on site Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, who is part of my support team, but she works closely with the neighbors on getting them connected to whatever resources they might need that we don't have inside the village. We like to kind of pride ourselves on being a wraparound service that provides, free groceries, meals 4 times a week, if not more. We've got volunteer nurses, volunteer holistic doctor, shout out Jackie, yoga, all these things, right? But if there's something that is needed outside of the village, our case manager can either facilitate communication with the neighbor to that organization, or if it's more of a financial request for their program fees, it can go through Shaunette. It just depends on the resource and what's needed. But typically, if our neighbors need help reaching out to other organizations, it's going to go through our case manager or through Shaunette.
And then just to kind of piggyback on that, we thrive, Goodness Village thrives on our relational aspects of other organizations, other nonprofits, other people who kind of are helping to carry out some of our mission along with theirs. And I mean, I can name so many individual people, and I'm not going to, just for the sake of not accidentally forgetting someone. But, we have so many, and I'll just name them because why not? Like, so City Serve, Abode Services, Open Heart Kitchen, Cornerstone Fellowship, different people who we partner with almost on a daily basis. And so they are hands-on just as much as we're hands-on. And a lot of times those agencies are the people that are giving us the referrals because they're outside and they are doing kind of the work that we're doing in our micro community. They're doing it out there, in the bigger space. And so a lot of times they'll call me or they'll call Jade and they're like, hey, I really have this person who I think will be a great fit for the village. And, we start those connections and we start that communication there at that time. And so a lot of the people that are on our wait list and a lot of people who are, dying to get into Goodness Village, they're like, hey, I talked to so-and-so at, whatever agency, and I know you're going to have a tiny home coming up soon. So how do I get on? And so, but they promote us just as much as we promote them because we both need each other. We cannot combat any form of homelessness without us working together as an entire community. And I speak for all of the Tri-Valley in that statement because we can't do it. I cannot do my job without these people on this stage, and without Kim and everyone else. And so it goes the same way all across the board. We can't be who we are. We can't have the success stories. We can't have the community without all of you. And so it's really what it comes back to.
Yeah, I'll say the Tri-Valley does a really, really good job of staying connected and, communicating with each other on where's the needs. Terri also just mentioned our homeless liaison officers in the Livermore PD department, Pleasanton PD as well. Does Dublin have homeless liaison? They
Yeah.
do? Okay, awesome. Yeah. So the Tri-Valley just does a really good job with police contacts in regards to our unsheltered population and also getting them connected to the resources they need, which sometimes is an agency that will refer to us as well. So yeah, shout out to the Tri-Valley and their social services just as a whole. I'm really impressed always with the level of community just within our agencies and other resources as well.
There's also, I think it was 2 Good Neighbor projects back that we did a talk with myself, City Serve of the Tri-Valley,
Tri-Valley
Tri-Valley Haven,
Jinx.
SHP, or Sleep in Heavenly
Open Heart
Peace,
Kitchen.
Open Heart Kitchen, Roland's Ministry. What is that? Yes, thank you.
Tri-Valley Seek and Save.
Tri-Valley
And
Seek and
then
Save, and then the
from
Valley
AFP.
Humane Society. We talked about how we all work together. It's on our website. You can find it. Yeah. Any other questions coming around?
I love that your shirt says good vibes just to put you on the spot. We love those statements around here.
Well, you're saying that there's a waiting list of 150, and if there's no time frame for them to move out, how often does houses come available for people, and how long can they be on that list for?
Yeah, and that's where it gets really tricky because we are considered permanent housing. And so oftentimes my communication is, I don't know when someone's going to move out. We're not in the business of kind of creating homelessness again. So we're really working, to the maximum limit that we can work to keep someone housed. Sometimes situations happen, like Kim mentioned, we've had a few people, pass away. And so that's created an opportunity in that aspect for someone else to become housed. We've also had people who have reconnected with their families. And so they've had opportunities, to move on and kind of move through the village that way. But I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at our website or of any of the communication, but we've had 17 of our original neighbors from day one that still live here. And so out of 28 tiny homes, we have really not had that many people kind of come into the village. It's really one of those situations where I get into a space where I'm like, if I had a house for every single person, I promise you we would have 1 million homes. But it's not the realistic portion of it. It's really just stay connected. Let's stay on top of kind of the communication. Let's work with other agencies and resources. Sometimes in the meantime, you may go to, a program or do other things while you're still on the list here, as long as you kind of remain in that eligibility kind of criteria that we talked about earlier, then you're still good to be on the list here. And not to toot our own horn, but we have so many people who just kind of pull and gravitate towards Goodness Village because they know that this is a safe space. They know that there's a community being built here. And so I have a few people who come every single week and they're like, hey, is it my turn yet? And, of course, my heart is breaking because I'm like, you just got to hold on just a little bit longer. And there are times where people come and, their timing happens to work out. And so their number has been called or their name has came up or they meet, kind of the criteria for this particular unit that's available. And so just to go back a little bit, we have to take everything into consideration once we have a unit that's available, right? Because we deal with mental health a lot, and so we don't want to necessarily put someone in a unit who may have other traumas that, this next door neighbor may trigger them for. And so we kind of look at all of that aspect, when we are bringing someone into the village. And so a lot of times, kind of that wait list jumps around and it moves all over the place. We also give preference to veterans. So I want to make sure that I do put that out there. If you have served in any capacity, you do get priority application. So doesn't mean that you automatically qualify that you get to move in, but it's absolutely, we're going to get our veterans off the street if we can, and so we have so many different layers to that one thing, into that one tiny home. And it's like, I can call probably 80 people and it doesn't mean that all 80 of them will qualify. Of course, they all, want a house or, in other circumstances, but it's really just kind of an up and go, up and down kind of situation every single time. So it's a hefty number, but it's really, it speaks volumes to the people that are still interested in wanting to be here in this space. And it just to me always reminds me how many people need a space, how many people need that home and that connection. But for us, how many people, really want to be in this community space with us.
One of the stories that resonated with me, or that you were making me think of, is we have a few people that came into the village that were on waiting lists for other housing programs in the area, but they were number 9,000 and something on that list. But because we were brand new, we were able to bring them in. But we've also added people to Alameda County wait lists when they open, or other areas that people are willing to transition to, knowing that we have some time to help them be ready when their number comes up, if they think they're also ready. We don't want anyone to leave that might lose their housing opportunities somewhere else because they weren't ready. So we try to work with them in that space. But we need more affordable housing to be built so that we can also move. The problem is the system itself is just logged. Like, it's just impacted because no one can move at this point because there's just no housing to move to. Any other questions? Okay, I have one last question, and then Jackie's going to close us out. I didn't take a clock with me. I want to make sure that I'm being mindful. Okay, we'll go real quick, because we were asked by one of our favorite partners, asked us to share who our favorite neighbors are. We obviously cannot tell you who our favorites are because they're all our favorites, right?
Yeah.
But I think that it is fair to say that we have some things that we really like in the village, the favorite parts of our jobs. So maybe you could share what your favorite part of your job is.
I can start. I always tell the neighbors, since I became the community engagement manager, I always tell the neighbors, if you guys need something, a service, a volunteer, somebody with a particular skill set, let me know. I will go into the community and find it for you. So my favorite part is when a neighbor asks me for something and I'm able to find exactly what they need, bring it to the village, and they're able to do whatever it is that they wanted to do prior to having that service or skill set or volunteer in their life.
My favorite part about the village is how no 2 days are the same. It's a new program. There's always things happening. Often I have my 3 things I got to do for the day, and once I sit down at my desk, those 3 things are no longer important because there's 3 new, more important things happening.
Sorry.
No, I love it. It keeps things dynamic. It keeps me engaged. It keeps me grounded. As a guy that sits behind a desk and stares at a screen often. I really like how I often get, you guys may feel like I get pulled into all that world, but it really makes me appreciative of why I get to do what I do.
Well, Hunter stole mine because that's actually one of my
I said it first, so it's mine.
Whatever. One of my most favorite things is that we do come to the village and every single day is different. I always tell people when I'm on site, I'm so hands-on that I go home and I'm like, I do a little bit of my work from home because I'm like, okay, it's quiet now and I can, respond to emails and do progress notes and different things like that. But when I'm here, it's, hey, Shaunette, and we turn into this whole thing and I'm like running around like a chicken every single day. And people are like, okay, are you taking vacation yet? And so like Hunter said, it's just no 2 days are the same. But also in kind of communication of that, it's that people, want to have that connection with you. And of course, with definitely professional boundaries. But they know me. And so I appreciate being able to come to a space, not just with, the staff here, but with the participants. And they're like, hey, so who's going to play basketball this weekend? And, different things like that. And we have all these communications. I'm not just kind of their landlord, or I'm not kind of just their housing manager who's the person who's enforcing all of the rules and things like that. They see me as an individual just as I see them. And so that really makes me happy every single day.
I agree with both of those. Every day is different and it makes it exciting. But my answer for this one is going to sound a little nerdy. I really like the program development part of it and creating forms and like being able to like really just have that creative freedom. Kim is a really great leader in that aspect of encouraging us to be creative and like think outside the box and not just follow this rubric of here's how things go. So being able to really tap into that creative nature has been one of my favorite parts. And then just, being here since the beginning in June of 2021 when folks moved in, being able to still check in with those people and see how they've been able to grow over the last 3 years and see how maybe some mindset shifts have happened or ticking things off of their to-do list or their goals is always, gives you that warm and fuzzy feeling. So those two are my big ones. You're up.
Talk to us, Terri.
My favorite part of Goodness Village in my days here, one is starting off as on-call and support and learning all the different aspects of what everybody gets to do. And then these 5 people that I sit up here with. And then I get to wake up every day and come to work and I'm happy because I get to deal with the 28. That's my favorite part, is coming in and dealing with my neighbors, the people I get to work with every day. That's my favorite part, is just I wake up happy and I can't wait to come to work. And most people don't have a job like that where they get to go, hey, I get to go to work today. I get to go have some fun. I get to banter with these guys. Go dig some dirt with Jim or have great conversation with Jim about how we're going to reinvent the wheel. And he usually wins. So yeah, I think my favorite part is the 28 and these 5 great people I get to work with every day. And they teach me something new every day. So I'm not too old, huh? Teach a dog new tricks.
All right, I'm gonna close this out. Thank you guys so much for sharing your Monday evening with us. I know 6 p.m. on a Monday is kind of awkward, but we really appreciate your dedication to learning more about Goodness Village and learning more about what it is that we do around here. Like we said, we have lots of weeds. If you guys know somebody who wants to volunteer with us, if you know someone who would be interested in what we have going on here, show them our website, have them listen to an episode of our podcast. I think all of us here have an episode on the podcast to talk a little bit more about what it is that we do. And we do these Good Neighbor Project discussions every quarter. So the next one will probably be around May or June. They're always free to the community. So invite somebody next time. We'll be bringing in people from the community to talk about specific topics relating to that. So that we did our due diligence to get the right people up here to give you guys the right information. And before I let you guys go officially, we are launching February 1st, the Good Neighbor Network, which is basically a group of volunteers or donors who give their time to us once a month. So people who are active in our village. We basically want to create a little bit more of a community aspect and less of just dropping off hot meals and that's the last time that we see you, or you guys give us a check every month and that's the last time that you hear from us or we hear from you. So we want to make sure that you guys are a little more connected with us, a little more connected with our neighbors. The Good Neighbor Network is going to consist of a exclusive page on our website that me and Hunter worked so hard on. Password protected, so you'll have exclusive access to it. We're going to have behind the scenes videos of us around the village, working around with the neighbors, just stuff that you don't normally see on our social media, but stuff that people who don't work with our neighbors on site even get to experience. So because you guys are so active in our village, we want you guys to feel like you're active in our village and see what we see. Also, we have exclusive merchandise. Worked very hard on that. It's really cool. So you'll have access to that as well. But we basically just want you guys to feel like a good neighbor, because that's what you are. Being here means that you're a good neighbor. So we want you guys to reap all the benefits of that as well. So thank you again for sharing your Monday evening with us. We hope you see you guys at the next Good Neighbor Project. Bring a friend of a friend. We'd love to have more seats filled up so you guys can hear about all the goodness that we have going on.
Love that, Fred. Well, Jackie, I lost my microphone. Jackie closed us out, but one of the things that we always do every time we have our huddle, we actually do this kind of weird alligator clap situation. I don't actually even know really how we started doing that, but it makes us kind of, we have our synchronized clap up here, but we're going to actually try it and see how it works with all of you. And I'm pretty sure that, we'll definitely get it by the second try. And so what you actually are going to do, if you can just drop your hands for 1 second, drop the things in your hands. You're going to, Hunter, can you demonstrate? I'll take your mic really quick. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your hands together like that, baby shark, clappy thing. And on the countdown of 3, 2, 1, we're going to clap on that 3, 2, 1 clap. So this is how we end every single staff meeting or every kind of team community communication that we have. And that's like, okay, and break. And now we can go back to our lives and, do goodness. But I would like to do all of that with you guys, if you don't mind. So I'm going to count down. This is Hunter's thing, but I'm stealing his thing. I'm going to count down. So 3. Yeah. I know. I'm making sure they were getting ready. All right. 3, 2, 1, clap. That was
There it
pretty
is.
good for the first try. Can we do it one more time? And then you're going to clap so it's 3, 2, 1, clap.
In
And
rhythm.
so I'm going to count down really quickly and we're going to really smooth this out. 3, 2, 1.